7:59 in the morning on Thursday, June 6, 2024. I just want to show you what is the maintenance of engineered light inside of the apartment. You've seen this day in and day out captures. I just want to show what the entity is engaging in. The asked entity that the sun would all both rise and set in alignment to my apartment specifically, which is recognition of the crime scene where you've seen the heavily documented stalking in helicopters, and that is the LAPD. You also saw yesterday the Glendale Police Department literally repeating that same pattern pursuant to, again, what I'm doing as I'm doing it, while that specific environment engaged in what is following, which is entirely demonic, to what was the DMV in Glendale, 1333 Glen Oaks. The entity is crossing path right now. This is criminal presence, doing so in a by means of transportation. That's what that is, crossing path. They're group stalking on FE, on Avalon, on Lobdell. You already know that. You've seen engineer light moving across 1826 Lobdell Place. You saw engineer light moving across the wall of the DMV in Glendale yesterday. You've seen engineer light moving across building 1818 while a ordinary dumpster technician, which is nothing other than a demon, which is speaking to, again, legally irrelevant, superficial veils that the entity likes to rely on. Oh, I work here, or oh, I'm coming here to do work, or oh, I live here, or oh, I'm a police officer, or oh, I am a mother. You fill in the blanks. It's all legally irrelevant. It's only relevant with regard to identifying the state that's acting directly versus the state that's acting vicariously, which represent the people of the state, and it's a prosecution of the same entity, and it is a matter of public corruption. It is currently, again, at 8:01 right now. I want to remind you about what is the maintenance of engineered light, and through my bedroom is where you're looking at engineered light in the evening. So let's recall that was at 5:45 p.m. where the entity has the same light source. I'm at the same property, I'm inside of the same apartment. This is 5:45 yesterday, June 5th, 2024. At 5:45 p.m., the entity is suggesting that the sun is going to be in any position to be on the left side of my apartment, which is facing the east. Again, this is what I mean with ascendancy. The sun is not, first of all, over you wherever you are, and I'm talking to everyone that's watching it. The sun is not over all of us, on the east side of us, and then setting on the west side of all of us, no matter where you are, no matter if you stay at one location all day long for the duration of the day. That's not the natural environment. The sun, outside of what we do or where we're doing it, is engaged in what is substantially the same conduct every day, which is constant motion. It's a gaseous ball of fire that does not shoot light horizontally through surfaces, both inside, appearing also on ceilings, and then also ricocheting off these same objects and appearing on the outside of buildings. That's not sunlight. Nor does it ricochet and appear off the gates such as 1826 Lobdell Place, which is the recognition of where the people of the state are going to be prosecuted based on the identification of their address and placement in the specific environment. That's the prosecution of the state living in the crime scene, where you are exercising no individual rights. And it's also where the state is stalking in helicopters, which again, 1826 Lobdell Place is engaged in terrorism, group stalking with the state, where they're stalking heavily in helicopters. It is 8:02 a.m. and on this day in 2022, not only is there no placement ever would the sun be rising and setting while I'm inside of the same apartment. I started this video at approximately 7:58 a.m. So it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The entity is suggesting that 10 hours from now, that the sun will be taking 10 hours to get to the opposite side of my apartment to be seen outside of this window, which is not the natural environment. Nor is sunlight creating this level of light activity throughout the depths of your apartment. That's not sunlight. This is the same engineered light. This is the same bedroom where you're looking at multiple shadows on my ceiling. None of this is the natural environment. None of this is present in a natural environment. This is group stalking, okay? And this is what is maintenance in an environment. Living at a crime scene such as this, this is what is providing what is ongoing activity creation in the engineered environment. Everything about it is engineered, and the entity is indeed engaged in what is stalking. This is light that's appearing on the ceiling, and you're looking at light that's appearing on the floor. I'm at the same property at 5:42 p.m. The entity is suggesting that the sun is ever going to be at one property, all right? And then 2 hours from now, the entity provides ongoing evidence of that which I am contending in, which is already established through what is the unnatural environment, wherein then the LAPD is providing me 20 to 25 times of them stalking in the specific environment, directly further corroborating what is the surefire prosecution of the people of the state, because no terrorist organization such as LAPD has any grounds in federal court, and they have already accepted that. That's why you engage in such clear stalking, such as flying directly over my head, and doing so 20 to 25 times a day. They've given up. So that is speaking to what is openly engaging in terrorism, which reveals the true identity. The public benefits off of that. The federal government is certainly knows all about that. We'll learn directly from that. It's the people of the state, and that's what I'm speaking speaking to, they are directly engaged in that criminal conduct together, and the ways in which you are witnessing the entity seeks to obstruct justice. Okay, which is also what I'm showing you the people of the state engage in, and they do so on behalf in the shoes of that same government. And I want to make sure that you recall the entity maintained a light source over me while I am at what is the DMV yesterday in the morning, and I walk out of that DMV office at 8:47, and I give you video of what is the light source that's still at this property at what is after 5 p.m., which is what I'm capturing on a daily basis. I arrive at the DMV, and you'll see the light source remaining over me as I'm on the freeways, as I'm documenting the people of the state. Every license plate I document, they're going to be prosecuted as group stalkers because that's what they're doing. And my ability to document you engaged in the criminal system, you're engaging in terrorism, and my ability to document you, if I documented you, that means you were engaged in the state's criminal course of conduct. The state relies on them. That's why you have the impossible, which is the light source, not possibly the sun. It's 8:06 right now. And at this time, I am on the freeway. And this is Uber, that is group stalking. I'm on the freeway, and the entity is maintaining a light source in alignment to me while I'm on the freeway, documenting the people of the state driving school buses, the people of the state driving on the freeway, okay? And I want to make sure that you recognize that the light source, which is remaining in alignment to me, which is how I capture it over my head at DMV at 1333 Glen Oaks Boulevard, nowhere near the hillside, which is where I'm at, facing outside of my living room window. Nor is this hillside where I'm facing and where this light source, as a matter of documentation, remains throughout the entirety of the morning, but yet at 8:47 in the morning, this is not seen over DMV in Glendale. It's certainly not seen while it's over in Glendale, seen through the window of the laundry room on this same property, nor is it the sun that will be at that same location, at that same laundry room, like I showed you on video yesterday. This is, again, unmistakable prosecution for the people of the state who are stalking. The state is clearly stalking. LAPD, which is the state, has clearly shown that they're stalking. The people of the state are stalking as well. And the people of the state are also engaged in the pattern of obstruction of justice, for which they will also find themselves in federal prison. All right. The entity is maintaining this light source in addition to what is common sense, because the sun is not rising and setting at one address, because that's exactly what this is documentation of. And this is what I'm capturing on an ongoing basis while I am still at the same exact property, because this is where I'm at, and I'm documenting group stalking. Everyone whose pictures I'm taking, they're maintaining presence. This is the same location, by the way, where I'm showing you. I will show you the screenshot so you can have a vivid illustration, besides what I just showed you right now. A vivid illustration looking at the light source that's over me at the same entrance. This is the evening of June 4, 2022 at 5:12 p.m. is the top. I'm standing at the same entrance yesterday while I was getting in the Uber to go to the DMV in Glendale, and that's the same entrance area. At what is 9:37 in the morning, the light source that you see, by the way, that is routinely remaining on this side of my living room window, staying on this side of my person when I go down to the leasing office at 1810, but not when I leave the property. The light source is straight at the entrance. The light source is never on this side of me when I'm at the leasing office, and I'm pointing out where you see the entrance sign right here. The Alvarado Gardens, this is the entrance of the apartments. The entity maintains the light source on the opposite side of my person at building 1810. If you'll recall that, which is what I'm routinely documenting, the entity is maintaining the specific environment. I'm documenting group stalking as I walk out. So where am I located? This is where I'm standing in front. I'm documenting engineered light here, but this is in front of my leasing office. The entity maintains the light source. This is the end of the day at what is 5. During the 5 o'clock hour. The entity is maintaining the light source over me while I am standing here. The light source is literally on the right side. The entity maintains the light source on the left side of my person. When I'm walking in at 9:37 yesterday morning, where you see the light source here at what is during the 5 o'clock hour, okay, this is the same side of the street where the light source was as I walked in at 9:37. It's just over building 1800 as opposed to the entrance, the driveway entrance, which was building 1816. This is when you're taking a big picture analysis of what the entity is doing, which is clearly stalking in the specific environment. Maintaining as though the sun is going to be over one property all day long. That, in addition to what is stalking by the state, is a prosecution of the people of the state for group stalking and monitoring. It's in the unnatural environment, and it is in concert with that government that is directly engaged in stalking, and it's clearly seen as stalking on its face. Then the entity is further documented and shown what is indeed demonic methods of stalking someone, which is group stalking. And this is how you have a totally different police department, such as Glendale Police, acting pursuant to a documented pattern of conduct in a very specific environment, which is entirely unnatural. And that's exactly what I documented. So This is also relevant when I'm going to show you while the entity has this light source and all it's doing now. You've already seen the pattern. The light, I've already captured this. I'm just getting another day of documentation because you've already seen. I've been documenting on video since the entity began terrorizing me by flying directly over my head and over my office to further communicate a threat, because the entity never stopped group stalking. When they wanted to engage in it in the workplace and where I live now in Los Angeles, by flying directly over my head, that is directly communicating a threat. Because the entity started to do that to that degree, I started as of February or January when the entity broke into my vehicle. This is the entity that's group stalking. That's the entity that damaged my personal property, which is a pattern of conduct, by the way. The entity, that's from that date, January into February, I started documenting. So you have already seen the sunrise and the sunset. Nobody's forgotten that. Okay, I'm capturing another day of documentation and no one forgets that, and all the entity is doing is engaging in light activity. This is not even sunlight. You've seen light appearing on the floor. You've also seen it appear on the ceiling. None of that is sunlight, and it's the same in my bedroom. It's the same in both the bedrooms. It's the same in the hallways. You've seen the pattern of the blinds on the ceiling in the hallways. You've seen concentrated light as though it's going to appear through a peeping hole onto this wall. You have seen engineer light showing my shadow above my head. As I open and close the door, the shadow of the palm trees appearing on the ceiling. This is all documented on the record. This isn't sunlight, nor is that the sun. In addition to that, and I'm showing that as I am remaining at one address, which is clearly highlighting that, and then as I go to DMV, driven by third-party group stalker Uber, you have what is an outright abandoned. They abandoned what the entity is doing. So this is another, how is that relevant? Because first of all, it's already the specific environment. Then the entity is further negating what is clearly not the natural environment and corroborating exactly what the pattern of conduct is pointing out. It establishes that it's the unnatural environment and you're stalking in that via that unnatural environment, which is demonic. And those are demons that are maintaining presence all around you in that unnatural environment. That is the reason for it. And on this day in June of 2022, the entity is rising a sun as I'm inside of a vehicle. And this is engineered light that's coming through. The windows are closed. Let me be clear, while I am sleeping outside at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, the entity is stalking by police who are flying over me daily and nightly in helicopters. It has nothing to do with your economic status. It has everything to do with the fact that they serve Satan and those who are followers of the Lord Jesus Christ, those who are, in other words, in the light. That's what this is about, not your socioeconomic status. And it is also a legally irrelevant term that a demon-possessed and corrupt entity likes to acknowledge with regard to making you seem as though you're insignificant, you're unimportant, but yet you're stalking me, okay? And that's a matter of evidence, okay? The entity is engaging in what is maintaining a light source, as I documented on this day in 2022, and this is at 7:50 in the morning. There is no sun that's going to be in alignment to me at 7:50 in the morning. I started this video at 7:59 in the morning. This is at 630 North Fern Avenue, outside of the passenger window of the vehicle that I'm sleeping in Ontario, California, and this is the living room of 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, and this is facing the east direction. The Los Angeles Police Academy is east of this hillside. They're in alignment. They're group stalking by virtue of their facilitating venue. This is under no circumstances in alignment with what is above, which is 630 North Fern Avenue in Ontario. This is not this address and this above at the top are not in perfect alignment, which is the entity is necessarily trying to suggest. Everyone and everywhere is what logically follows, and it's clearly false. Every one of us and everywhere, no matter where we're at, we're not all in perfect alignment with the sun such that it's over all of us through any and every window and every vehicle that you're in perfect alignment. That's called stalking the path with light. And while I'm in Ontario, remaining in Ontario, the entity is rising the sun over me, which I document at 7:50 in the morning on this day in 2022. And as I start this video this morning at approximately 7:59 in the morning, the entity is rising the sun in alignment to me in a Los Angeles facilitating venue, which is a private space, and the state's going to be prosecuted as a sex offender, nor is this sunlight. All right, the entity is maintaining this light source as I remain at the property, which is a matter of documentation as well. And while the light source is over me at 8:47 in the morning, there's no provision that the sun is ever going to be in Ontario, which I already documented, which you're understanding what is the surefire prosecution of the state. The LAPD, Dominic Choi, are going to be permanently removed from their current position as being nothing other than a terrorist organization, parading as a law enforcement agency. No, they're not. Rewind those tapes of them flying and flying directly over my head as I just so happen to be documenting, just ordinary conduct of somebody delivering the mail. No, it's criminal conduct in the specific environment. They are openly engaging in terrorism at this point, and I want to let you know it's because they are literally bowing at the foot of Satan. They are. This is relevant to what is demon possession, and it's entirely psychotic behavior that is made manifest upon exposing that and upon becoming made aware of that criminal conduct. So this is the entity that's maintaining this light source. Let's see, this is at 1135. I remain in at the same property, and this is the entity that's maintaining engineered light for the duration of the day. This is what's on the floor, and this is while it's outside of my living room window. Just to give you an example, as I went to DMV yesterday, the entity is maintaining a light source over me at the Glendale DMV, but yet I've captured a pattern of the entity maintaining the light source outside of my living room window. Sunlight, that's supposed to be sunlight. That's not sunlight. The blinds are closed and it's magnified and it's going at a downward trajectory. This same window, and the entity is maintaining engineered light on the ceiling. That has nothing to do with sunlight, and that's very demonic. It's engineered light, and this is the light source. This is captured at what is 9:41 in the morning. I want to be clear, 2 hours from now, 9:37, this is after I came from the entrance. So from the entrance of, let's look back up this because this is common sense. From the entrance at 9:37 in the morning, I'm at the entrance, which is on the opposite side of this apartment building. What I can see from the entrances over my head is not going to be visible through my living room window. What's happening at the DMV, Glendale, while I'm standing at that driveway walking toward the entrance doors of the Glendale DMV is not seen over the hillside, nor is it in alignment with my living room window, nor is it creating any sunlight through my living room window, nor is that even sunlight, because sunlight, as I've shown you the ongoing character of this light appearing at all manners, even in the absence of the light source, which is speaking to what is a specific environment where group stalking is underway, and it is the evidence of what is a sex offense while you're subject to surveillance and the people of the state are group stalking you with that state. In addition to that, the entity is maintaining a light source, as I'm pointing out to you, this day in 2022, where it's remaining for the duration of the day in Ontario, California, which is exactly what I documented. 8:40 a.m., I'm still inside of the vehicle at 630 North Fern Avenue. That's where I'm parked in front of. And this is clearly the light source, and this is the sun, the blue house. That's 630 North Fern Avenue, which is the identification of the people of the state. In the same way that 1826 Lobdell, identification of the people of the state, and they're going to be prosecuted for engaged in state terrorism. They're group stalking. They're group stalking by venue, living at a facilitating venue, hiding, all right, being in the shoes of the state and engaging in what is group stalking as a whole society, all right? And it is entirely demonic. Very, very malicious. And the entity is also providing evidence against the people, not only while they live and work and remain in the specific environment, which is clearly shown when you see how impossible that is to be the case. The entity continuously does so by providing a wealth of evidence, which is what the state is doing and what the people of the state are doing. Group stalking amongst engineered light, group stalking amongst states, the state acting via, this is all the ridiculous, impossible light activity. The sun light is reaching down into the depths of the touching all over my feet and my legs, and then also above with the on the steering wheel while it's on the passenger side of the car. That's what I took pictures of. And then you have the entity with the light source outside of my living room window in Los Angeles. 630 North Fern Avenue and 1806 North Alvarado Street are not sharing the same sky space, and you cannot see the sun in perfect alignment with me while I'm at two addresses down to the same day and down to the same time. And I also went to the 7-Eleven, which is captured right here at 9:13. You know where the sun is going to be at 9:13 a.m. and you know that it's not the sun. That's how you get to the pattern of conduct and documentation for group stalking, which is a state offense, a federal offense committed by the government. The light source is going to be over me at 9:13 downstairs on the left side of building 1810. And then it remains there until the end of the day, which is what I capture at 5 p.m., where it's then just on the right side of building 1810, which is speaking to the pattern of conduct as I documented it in San Bernardino County, and now I'm documenting it in Los Angeles County. And in addition to that, the entity is heavily stalking in helicopters. And as the Glendale Police Department showed you, in concert with the people, I'm showing you the ongoing demonic pacing. The entity is engaging when it's, again, the people of the state are driving and walking in opposite directions. These are demons that are pacing in this engineered light. That's the significance of this weirdo light. That's the significance of the light source, which is not the sun. These demons are pacing back and forth. And you'll witness that on foot. You'll witness that in vehicles. You'll see the engineered light all over their cars, all over the buildings while they are driving their vehicles, okay? So let's just remember that one more time while I have the wealth of evidence. I want you to remember what is the pattern of conduct, what is the unmistakable pattern of conduct. This is the light source that's over me while I am en route, 9:34 in the morning. The light source is over me while I'm on the freeway, driven by Uber. There's no sunlight that's going to be over the left side of building 1810, which is where I'm going to be this morning at 9:34 in the morning. In addition, I'm at, again, you can name any random place at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, documentation of my never being anywhere in Glendale or Los Angeles. And I'm documenting it on a day-to-day basis for purposes of prosecuting instituting a government that's practicing a demonic stalking system. And doing so, there is no sun that's going to be over. The light source is key, and the engineered light is key to what is group stalking. And that's where you're understanding the crime scene, where you are aware of a whole population that's group stalking you. And it's facilitated by the state and the people together. And the documentation that I captured is what I want to remind you of when you're looking at the unmistakable pattern of conduct.
Communicating a threat, 1595144, and the reason why they do, look at the times. I'm taking pictures of the demon.
The entity is group stalking, and I want you to see engineered light moving across buildings.
Wow, I couldn't make it up. You're talking about arriving, coming to the venue while I'm documenting.
This is a whole population of people. I've never been to the Glendale DMV. The light source is over my head, clearly out of bounds with what the entity is doing day in and day out, rising and setting the sun while I remain at one property, literally inside of one apartment in the morning in alignment to my living room window, and in the evening in alignment to my bedroom window. In the morning, as I come back to this property at 9:37, it's over my head at the entrance of Alvarado Gardens, the light source. And in the evening, the entity, if you pay attention, it's over the same entrance while it's in alignment to my bedroom window. It's at the same location it was at 9:37 in the morning. All the entity is maintaining the lights. All the entity is doing, which is demonic, stalking with the light source, and you can see it very clearly when you document it. And then I'm also giving very vivid and clear illustrations of it so that everyone can understand what is actually occurring and how psychotic it is. And then you have just blatant provision of evidence against itself and against its criminal co-conspirator, which are the people of the state. I want you to see this engineer light, because the engineer light is the people of the state, the demon possessed, are themselves providing evidence against them while they are engaging in what is impossible. Sunlight is never ricocheting off of your car at any distance across asphalt, sidewalk, or buildings. That is the evidence of the system. And that system is underway, not only as I'm showing you the specific environment is maintained while the people of the state who are demon possessed are crossing paths with engineer light moving across surfaces.
7, that's both city cab and that driver's going to federal prison. The entity arrives to communicate a threat while I'm capturing pictures of them. 8YSP178, federal prison. 9DOJ182, federal prison. Engineer light moves across the building, going to federal.
So I want you to pay attention to that. That was engineer light. Again, let's rewind that again. Okay, this is what you've seen Universal Waste engaging in. This is what you've seen Vanessa Drees engage in. This is what you've seen Center for Better Life engage in. This is what you've seen Ryder come onto the grounds and engage in. This is what you saw Lyft come onto the grounds and engage in. It's impossible to happen even one time. Sunlight is never ricocheting off of vehicles. It's not swiping across asphalt. Sunlight is not some sort of like it's an arcade, like this is a circus. It's very demonic. And that demon possession and that psychotic mindset is literally personified through the entity's conduct with light activity. This is very psychotic group behavior amongst a pack of demons who are group stalking one person who is aware of their condition and their criminal conduct. And not only are they engaging in group stalking, this is all now legally relevant with regard to the demons communicate hostility while they increase that aggression in real time as I speak to their criminal conduct and their demon possession. And that's what you see going on in Glendale.
And those officers, those two males that are in that vehicle, they're going to federal prison. 9FZC136, federal prison, light activity and impunity. All right, doing so while engineer light moves across the building. This is terrorism. And this is what the demons do when you document them.
I don't know if you saw that, hold on.
Terrorism. And this is what the federal prison, light activity and impunity. All right, doing so while engineer light moves across the building.
So just in case you can rewind the tape and see it yourself, I just like to make sure it's slowly dragging against the, and I might even be able to increase the, there you go.
FZC136, federal prison, light activity and impunity. All right, doing so while engineer light moves across the building. This is terrorism. And this is what the demons do when you document them. No sane person would provide this level of evidence. I'm letting you know, demon possession creates a psychopath.
So you're looking at impossible light activity. This is the same thing that you saw occurring on the grounds of I'm not at Victoria Gardens. Victoria Gardens, I documented that at Victoria Gardens, but I'm documenting this while I remain here at Alvarado Gardens, and this is speaking to the occurrence of a system which is demonic at its core. Never is sunlight engaging in this, and by virtue of it happening once, it is the P.O.C. But I have a pattern amongst the population, and it's captured for a prolonged period of time, and it is the unmistakable, that combined with the state stalking. And so this is what I mean with regard to outright terrorist organization conduct, which are the Los Angeles Police Department and Dominic Choi. So this is what is going on.
Relevant position as well.
as I am here at the property.
They are engaging in monitoring and
the same exact impossible occurrence that sunlight is ricocheting off while you're crossing path. First of all, I'm showing you what is marking down, identifying the system. This is not the sun that will be over me and over where I am remaining at in Ontario at the same time of year. And I'm also documenting, for example, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is what I was using, 9:03 a.m. specifically. The sun is not remaining over me, which you can see here through the window. Okay, this is, he's crossing path in this specific environment, but yet I'm remaining at Glendale DMV yesterday at this time. I don't arrive back to Alvarado Gardens until 9:37, which I capture on images and in video. And the entity has the light source over the entrance of the apartment complex, which is not seen through my living room window of this apartment. Okay, so that's plain stalking with the light source. You are also witnessing stalking with the light source while I remain in the living room or in my apartment, and it's on the living room side of the apartment. That's speaking to what is stalking. You can clearly see it when I go somewhere else, and then the light source remains directly over me, and then I go back to where the entity is originally keeping the light source when I don't go anywhere. Stalking with the light source. That's what you're seeing on a large scale when I remain at the one property all day long. You clearly see it when you have years of moving around and traveling, and the entity keeps the light source over you from day until evening, which is what the P.O.C. consists of. And at 9:03 in the morning, you're seeing the exact same impossible occurrence happen amongst two totally different people. I don't know those people in traffic in Glendale, but they engage in the same conduct, which is impossible to ever occur. Sunlight's not ricocheting off your car. The sun that you see, that's over this same, over my head while I'm in the parking lot of the leasing office, which is downstairs. The same property where you see yesterday at 5:45 p.m., the light source is still in alignment to me. At that same entrance where I'm arriving at 9:37 in the morning yesterday, when you pay attention, all the entity is doing is keeping the light source on one side of me all day long and over the top of my head for the duration of the day. This is the engineered light.
Space as well. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they're engaged in this act of terrorism, coming onto the grounds, engaging in the criminal elements, monitoring with the state and LAPD. That is the impossible light moving across the building while TIM is involved.
That's exactly what happened amongst traffic. That's not traffic, and that's what I'm referring to. This is not traffic in this specific environment. It's ongoing demonic pacing. And
engaging in the criminal elements, monitoring with the state and LAPD.
They are doing this. They're pacing back and forth, walking on foot, driving in vehicles. They're pacing in the sky space in planes and helicopters. And the LAPD provides what is ongoing highlights to their criminal system and their mental illness while they continuously engage in it, and it's no longer a secret, and it's clearly providing for the prosecution of the whole population, not just the government. All right, and the people of the state are placed in the shoes of the government because they're acting in concert with it. You don't have an ongoing coincidence of conduct in the engineered environment. That's the pattern. That's the system in operation. And you have, again, tying together what happened at the DMV in Glendale and what's happening on the grounds of
state
Alvarado
and
Gardens.
LAPD. That is the impossible light moving across the building while
what is impossible light activity. This is the evidence that the people of the state provide against themselves. While they're stalking, because that's what's happening in the specific environment, while they're acting in concert with the state, which is showing their criminal conduct with the state, they're also exhibiting and providing evidence of their criminal engagement in group stalking, which is the engineered light moving across surfaces. And then you can see this person on foot and this person in the vehicle. These demons are in step. They're monitoring together. This is demonic pacing. This is, again, what you're looking at. They're pacing in engineered light. It's significant what the demons are doing in the engineered light. This same entity that's group stalking, doing so through spectacular and very disconcerting methods. It's already disconcerting for a government to be stalking you and keeping you under surveillance, having no legal basis to do so. They are doing so in helicopters because the demon-possessed that are in positions of law enforcement in this state and in this country, but it's happening, I'm prosecuting what's happening in California. They want to specifically torment and terrorize, which I've also shown, because the entity is not only engaged in openly stalking in a system that's fully exposed, they do so with knowledge of the fact that they're being documented, which they also demonstrate through the ongoing concerted simultaneity, in other words, with what I do as I do it in the specific environment. That's that system, the pattern amongst the pattern. All right, the entity providing more evidence against who? They're all going to be prosecuted. This is ongoing terrorism. That's not any sunlight, and none of it is occurring while the sun is over the 7-Eleven at 9:13 in the morning on this day in 2022. This is at 636 North Vine Avenue in Ontario. This is where the sun is rising over me as I'm showing at 7:59 in the morning. And the entity is maintaining this light source for the duration of the day as I documented on this day in 2026. And all I'm doing is documenting while I'm inside of every venue, which is the significance of it. At 9:23 in the morning, this is the pattern of engineered light. which is tying together the system. So I want to show you what is engineered light that's on a surface. And at 9:23 in the morning, the entity is stalking here in Los Angeles over my leasing office, where it remains for the duration of the day, and then it goes into to be in alignment with me inside of my bedroom into the evening. At 9:23 in the morning, before I relocated to Los Angeles, which is where the state's criminal system of group stalking centered itself, which is a sunrise and a sunset over me, and it is also shown through what is the engineered light. So this is engineered light that's appearing on a third-party facilitating venue, exactly what you see occurring while the people of the state are crossing path at 1826 Lobdell Place. An engineered light moves across their gate while a dumpster man driving a waste management vehicle, or a third-party group stalker driving their own vehicle, an engineered light moving across surfaces like you see at DMV and Glendale, like you saw across building 1818, Universal Waste Systems engaging in. This is plastered engineered light, while the people of the state, knowing that I'm sleeping in a car, and you know that they know that because that which is not the sun is over me in the morning as though that's the sunrise. That is speaking to specific knowledge, and that is speaking to what is the system of group stalking. This is the engineer
I want
light.
you to see this. This is the prosecution of the third party that lives here. This is a demon. This is state surveillance. It's directly indicative of that. It is.
I am walking on the sidewalk, the sun that which is supposedly above us, and you have what is you've seen over and over again inside of my office, and you've seen inside of my bedroom. You've seen as I am documenting on the property of Alvarado Gardens, my shadow appearing upright. There is no position of the sun that's over us that creates your upright shadow on a wall in front of you, while the sun is above us. There is no sunlight that's engaging in that sort of trajectory of light, creating your upright shadow. That's the same pattern. That engineer light is what's covering a third-party facilitating venue. And you're going to be prosecuted by address. That's showing the existence of a system and the presence of what are demons who know where you are and who are targeting you, and doing so in concert with the state. That's what I'm capturing at 9:23, where today at 9:23 the entity is maintaining a light source and the engineer light, which covers the property at Alvarado Gardens until the end of the day, which is the prosecution of the entire state of California.
What is the ongoing impossible placement of what is light? This is a molestation. The demon possessed are going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. Okay, this is impossible light. This is my shadow that's also appearing at a distance. You see I'm on the sidewalk. I'm in the shade.
In the shade.
Where's the fake sun?
Exactly.
We already know it's right here, but it's not over my head, and it's also not behind me projecting onto.
The significance of that is the maintenance, the supplement for engineered light, where there's supposed to be shade, and that's what I've shown you. My shadow appearing in the shade outside of what's supposed to be the appearance of sunlight. None of it is sunlight. It's all engineered light. You can see it more clearly when I show you, okay, here's an example for you. No light source, but engineered light. None of it is sunlight. It's all speaking to what is stalking with light, which is what the entire population is doing, and they do it in helicopters and airplanes, which is the state's criminal pattern of conduct.
A building. Sunlight is also not bouncing off of a car. That's because.
Okay, so you can see the light source through the window of this vehicle right here. Hold on.
This is impossible light. This is my shadow that's also appearing at a distance. You see I'm on the sidewalk. I'm in the shade. Where's the fake sun? Well, you already know it's right here, but it's not over my head, and it's also not behind me projecting onto a building. Sunlight is also not.
Okay, so this is where the light source is. Yeah, it's back here. Google Drive is a little more temperamental than. You can see it right here. Through the top of the window right there, there's a light source that's right over. I'm standing in the shade, and engineer light is appearing on the shaded side of a building. That's for purposes of maintaining light on me. This is the state that's group stalking is going to be prosecuted as a sex offender, not only because they're monitoring you 24/7, invading your privacy at all times. That's a violent sex offense, and it's very disturbing. It is disturbing to any ordinary, the sensibilities of any reasonable person. It is also illegitimate. There's no basis for it. There's no legitimate basis for it. There's no lawful grounds for it. It is also extremely perverted. While the entity engages in the elements of monitoring, sexually motivated, predatory behavioral patterns, the entity also is molesting your person with engineered light. No stalker has any right to touch you, all right, physically or with anything attached to their person. And it is the same thing with the demonic weaponry for group stalking you, and that is with engineered light. And you can attribute that to the state and the people of the state, because they are group stalking you while that engineered light remains all around you and on you. That will be the prosecution for the sex offense. All right, and that's the light source right here through the car. You can see it over my
Not
head.
bouncing off of a car. That's because that demon is monitoring.
And I'm at the intersection of Vine Avenue and Fern. This is Woodside Senior Apartments. That's across the street. I'm at 630 North Fern Avenue specifically. It's the identification of a facilitating venue. And this intersection has nothing to do with the living room window. I'm facing the hillside where the entity maintains this light source. It's directly over my head as late as 1, 2, even 3 o'clock in the afternoon as I'm showing the light source directly over the top of my head as I stand outside of my front door. So this is speaking to what is the pattern of conduct. It is June 6, 2024. This is documentation of what I documented on June 6, 2022. This is the entity that's maintaining a specific environment where it's occurring also in the workplace, which becomes legally relevant for speaker companies, who is the same entity seeking to obstruct justice, also engaged in what was not only audible activity, but libelous conduct on that communication device, which is filled with federal stalking, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. It's all criminal conduct, maliciously under the malicious guise of what is the business of speaker companies. Speaker companies is a third party. That's why its employees, that's why everybody that lives here, that's why the state itself are engaging in the pattern of conduct, which is outside of any coincidence. That's why you have what are demons crossing path and engineer light moving all across the apartment buildings. That's why you have engineer light on my ceilings. That's why you have a sunrise and a sunset. And all of this supersedes all of the malicious audible activity, which is a threat to my life while you are group stalking with knowledge of the fact that I am enforcing my rights. You're going to federal prison for that. And I'm referencing speaker companies personnel who are also violating federal housing laws while they're engaged in group stalking with the state and federal stalking on the venue of the internet and communication devices, while they're also engaged in what are unprecedented levels of evasion of privacy. I mean, how much I'm being paid, my social security number, my bank account information, my medical information, all of this is public information on that communication device in the office, which is shared, while the human resources, the same one engaging in what is the malicious act of harassment as an entity, literally while the state provided evidence against them, flying over my head while the light source is at the same property. Let me be clear, 4:12 p.m. while Heather Teal was on the phone with me as I documented, this is the same property at 4:12 p.m. where this light source remains. That's not the sun. All right. Right? And that's common sense. So the entity has multiple levels for federal prosecution and independent bases, all of which are independent bases for federal imprisonment. So the entire property of Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison. Speaker companies, personnel, they're all going to federal prison. And this is a matter of justice. This is how any federal government is going to treat state terrorism that the state is engaging in concert with the people. You're understanding the system of group stalking. You're understanding how the system is operated. The entity does it through the people. That's why you can have any company come onto the grounds and you have the identical behavioral pattern. You have the same concerted conduct. You have the identical specific environment, which is unnatural. It's always unnatural. You will never have the natural environment because the sun is never going to be over Alvarado Gardens ever, ever. All right. And this is, what are you basing it on? Because you're comparing crime scenes. That's not the natural environment in Ontario. And there's nothing about what's happening over me at 630 North Fern Avenue over my head that's happening through the living room window of 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles. In addition to that, you know that neither are the natural environment. I'm capturing the sunrise and the sunset at both addresses. That's never the case. The sun is a gaseous ball of fire that's not hovering down directly over our heads and directly over the buildings. And while the entity that's stalking in planes and helicopters flying right over and through and underneath and all around that light source, which is not the sun. All right, which is present from the beginning to the end of the day. That's not the sun. It's to the exclusion of every other location. It's to the exclusion of Los Angeles while I was in San Bernardino County. Now it's to the exclusion of what I already documented. I already documented at another place. It's to the exclusion that it would ever be in Los Angeles while it's over the Ovid Family Community Library all day long. That's how you're prosecuting, and that's how you're surrounding a malicious government that's engaging in what is a targeting system. And it is necessary as a matter of justice that that government actor and the people of the state that are the vicarious government actor go to federal prison respectively. All right, it is currently 8:38 a.m. and this is P.O.C.